I'll be honest, I was a bit skeptical when I first heard about a 12-inch chef knife, especially with this blade profile, and I know that a lot of folks are until you actually make dinner with this knife. This is the 12-inch chef knife from West KnifeWorks, also known as the Chris Kidder Special, who definitely deserves a tip of the hat for the design of this knife. And yes, while the story goes that this was a specialty design just for Chef Chris at his award-winning restaurant, some of those specialty use cases can actually have some benefits that make their way back to the more general masses. There is a ton of intentionality behind the way that this blade is designed, starting with the fact that a lot of West KnifeWorks knives, especially the chef knives, have a continuous distal taper from the start of the spine all the way down towards the tip. What they've done with the Chris Kidder Special is they've kept that consistency through a large portion of the blade. So you have that stiffness and sturdiness as you're doing something like rock chopping. And while I personally love that about this knife, it actually does experience a taper towards that last section of the tip. And so if you want to do actually more delicate tasks, even though it feels a little bit weird to be so far away from those ingredients with a 12-inch chef knife, you can do more delicate tasks using this blade. And if you had any doubts about the way that this knife feels, look at the balance point of this knife. It is not any sort of blade heavy, even though the blade is almost a foot long. I've been known to gush about slicer style blade profiles, and it's big in professional chef circles to gravitate towards slicer style knives as you get more experienced. But even if you don't consider yourself a professional, this knife, in the way that it is designed, it just feels like a cohesive unit. And so if you are the type of person to have a lot of food that you're prepping, think of like if you're making a bunch of kimchi and you need to chop a bunch of cabbage, large portions of potatoes, or a ton of mushrooms, as long as you have a big enough cutting board to handle it, the Chris Kidder is going to serve you well. And so those are your rock chopping tasks, but let's say you want to run your knife through something again. You actually have the ability to pinch the spine and do that more of a rock chopping with two hands motion, and you're able to get so much coverage because you have so much blade here to work with. You don't even need to be worried if you're doing something like a rock chop, because they actually took the measurements of Chef Chris's knuckles to make sure that you were going to have knuckle clearance regardless of what you decide to chop with this. I'm also a particularly big fan of using this for tasks that really benefit from those long continuous strokes. Think like portioning a cake, or if you have charcuterie projects that you're actually slicing into, or even things like slicing through the skin of fish where you want that long continuous stroke. Chris Kidder Special is one of those, it seems ridiculous until you try it knives, and it's been one that I've personally loved using. Yes, it's a show-stopping blade with the size of it, but functionally it actually is incredibly practical to use a knife that is this big because of the way that the knife makers have designed this. You've already heard me talk about the CPM S35VN steel, which does rock that 58 to 60 Rockwell hardness rating, as well as that incredible combination of toughness, edge retention, and stain resistance so you can keep on cutting. This one you see here does have the G Fusion handle with that aerospace grade G10 fiberglass composite. This comes in a range of different creative color palettes as well as a more minimalist black. If natural materials are more your preference, I recommend you check out the Desert Ironwood, which is incredibly sturdy and does have that more natural wood tone. Every single piece of this process is both sourced and made in the USA, supporting American manufacturing. And I almost forgot to mention, every single product that you're going to hear me talk about is backed by West KnifeWorks 100% performance satisfaction guarantee, as well as includes that free lifetime sharpening. West KnifeWorks is helmed by Corey Milligan, a chef turned knife maker who works with incredible artisans and actually empowers a lot of the knife makers to do a lot of the hand finishing that you're going to enjoy. The spine beveling details, if it's a knife that you happen to use a pinch grip with, it's going to be incredibly comfortable because you're not going to have any harsh edges up on the spine. And those details really come through, from the materials to the finishing to all of the features that are included with the end use in mind. For a comprehensive overview and comparison of the West KnifeWorks G Fusion line, that is available for you to watch next. It's either right below this video or right here on screen.